Going live now. Well, hello. Welcome to the Huddle. Welcome to Moms in the Huddle. We're in the Huddle. No parent stands alone. I am one of your hosts, Erica Morgan. Jillian is not here today. As you know, Wisconsin was actually in a part of the finals coming up into March Madness. So she's still out of town trying to get back to Michigan. So we're going to be seeing Jillian next weekend. But this show will never leave you what would I say, will never leave you unattended or no one here to make sure that we're making sure that this show goes forward. But I will say this, we have a great show tonight. I know some people may understand grief as a different spectrum that you're dealing with psychologically, but tonight we have Dr. Portia Lockett. She's going to come and open up a plethora of information for any and every family that is out there dealing with grief or understanding how to deal with grief, leading your family through grief. She actually has a seminar where, if I'm not mistaken, one of the names was Permission to Grieve. She's going to be able to talk about us and her process of her going through her grieving process of dealing with the loss of her son. Portia is actually one of the moms that we actually honor each year for moms that have lost their children by the Samaj J. Morgan Foundation. But before we move on to that, I want to give you guys an update. In January of this year, you knew that Samaj Morgan actually left the University of Michigan and made the decision to join the transfer portal. Since January, he's been down there. He's been thriving. He's been doing very good. And you really haven't heard anything else. So I just wanted to give you guys a snapshot of what's going on with little Samaj. Basically, he is in the gym. Not only is he working out, not only is he doing very well down there, he still is in what you look like the colors of blue and gold. UCLA has been a very good breeding ground for Samaj, still in the area of sports and football. He's still excelling. He's doing great. So what I wanted to do today was just kind of bring you guys some pictures to show him in a little of his new gear. Once he officially gets his number, which is going to be, I guess, when spring ball starts. I think spring practice starts April 2nd, and spring ball or spring football is May the 2nd. So I'll be bringing you more information. So make sure you tune in for more information about Samaj's journey at UCLA and his journey going into the path of the NFL. We thank God for that in advance, okay? Now, the next thing I want to move on today is I want to move on to understanding what athletes do and when they create different organizations. Samaj started his organization, the Samaj J. Morgan Foundation, in 2023. And what he did was he did a lot of different things by giving back to his community, giving back to people such as mothers. He did this is going to be his 4th annual Mother's Day event where he had given back to mothers that had lost their children, whether to gun violence, whether to anything, whether to illness. So Samaj has been giving back. And not only does he do it for the mothers, he will also do it for the fathers. So he would bring out a number of dads, take them out golfing, take them to do different things. This was one of his events that he did just last year. And then he also give back to the children. So Samaj does a lot with his foundation. He does so much with giving back to his community that this was one of the reasons that this show for me is really special. One of the people that Samaj gives back to is Dr. Portia Lockett. Dr. Lockett actually came into our lives. This was actually almost 3-4 years ago. Dr. Lockett was not able to join us at one of our foundational events. There go Jillian. Love Moms in the Huddle. We love you too, Jill. But she was not able to join us our very first year that we did it, but we met up with her inside of a Starbucks. And what you do is you see Samaj. He's taking a picture with her. And at some point throughout this time, Dr. Portia Lockett gave a very inspirational word to my son. And I was saying this was in the year 2023. I'll share that with you, but it's going to happen throughout this interview. You never know when it's going to happen, so just stay tuned. Okay? All right. But before we bring Dr. Lockett up to the stage, yes, we do love the Samaj J. Morgan Foundation. Jill, I know that you're out there somewhere. You're probably sitting in the airport because I know you're on your way home. But Jill, thank you. And we're going to make sure that we get all the questions that you want answered out in this interview with Dr. Lockett, okay? I'm holding it down for you, sis. I'm holding it down. Safe travels. Love you. But I want to read Dr. Lockett's. This is my favorite portion in like the show because when I'm able to read someone's background or who they are or their bio, I don't think the bios do them justice, but I'm gonna try to do justice in reading Dr. Portia Lockett's bio. This woman is phenomenal. But here we go. So Dr. Portia Lockett is a certified grief recovery method specialist. She's also a spiritual advisor, a chaplain, an inspirational speaker, and a transformational leader. See, that's huge right there. Transformational, that means change happens when you come in contact with her. Transformational leader committed to helping individuals and families navigate grief with faith, courage, and practical tools for healing. She is the CEO and founder of the Azelle Benet Lockett Foundation, where she and her team help people heal, offer hope, and hold hearts with compassion throughout the grieving journey. Dr. Lockett also serves as a director of spiritual care and community affairs for the Detroit Medical Center, leading initiatives that bridge healthcare, community engagement, and spiritual care. Her work has been featured on CNN and Fox 2 News and highlighted in the Michigan Chronicle, Courageous Magazine, and Speakers Magazine, as well as numerous podcasts amplifying her message of resilience and restoration. She is the recipient of the Career Master Spirit Award, the Tenet Heroes Award, the Spirit of Detroit Award, the Power of One Award, and the Michigan Chronicle Women of Excellence Award, among others. Above all, she is the proud mother, and this is how she puts this. This was so beautiful, of two kings and one that has wings, and then a beloved grand princess. Please, everyone, welcome to the stage, Dr. Portia Lockett. Let's welcome Dr. Portia Lockett to the huddle. Hi, Dr. Lockett. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Oh, there we go. Did we lose you?
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. Oh, yeah, I can hear you right there, Dr. Lockett. Dr. Lockett, I just want to thank you for coming into Moms in the Huddle. We're in the huddle. No parent stands alone. Tonight, we are talking about a topic that I think that a lot of people don't know how to work through it. Grief can take many different forms. But for you, you indicated that you actually started a whole organization surrounded by this. You see this on an everyday basis. So I want you have worked with centers and helping navigate with grief. What is your personal calling concerning this area of grief and how we should understand it and the perspective maybe we should look at it?
You know, in this space, I always tell people that grief is a natural response to change. And the change could be a good change. It could be a negative change.
Yeah.
And so in my space, I deal and help people with grief that's not so pleasant, sometimes unwanted scenario situation. So whatever the situation is, as you stated earlier, whatever you are, whoever you are, wherever you are, you're not alone. There is support.
Well, how did you start that journey? So do you think that this is a calling that you started on, Dr. Lockett? But how did you start this journey specifically?
Well, you know what? I have been working with people who are grieving, I would say, since the year of 2000. That's my life to become a chaplain and then a spiritual advisor and then a grief recovery method specialist. But it wasn't until December the 15th of 2020 when my family experienced the most horrific change that one could ever expect. And that was due to the loss of my son, who was tragically murdered on the streets of Atlanta. And so after that took place, you know, the voice of the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, I'm going to get the glory out of this.
Yeah.
And of course, challenge that conversation, but you got to be obedient. You just don't have a choice. So with that, we started the Hazel Benet Lockett Foundation, where we help individuals heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts as they are maneuvering through any type of grieving journey. Sometimes people just want to put grieving in a box and say that it's only due to the loss of a loved one. But on so many different forms, it could be the loss of that loved one. Absolutely. It could be dealing with or being diagnosed with a chronic illness, the loss of a pet, relation, lack of socialization. I do believe we were all experiencing some sort of grief when we were experiencing the last 3 or 4 years of dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it, there's loss of hair,
Wow.
family through Alzheimer's or dementia, not being able to communicate with those individuals that you are accustomed to communicating. You think about what's going on in the world right now with the war, this kind of world war that we're experiencing. And there have been so many different family members that have reached out and said, can you please pray for my son? Could you please pray for my daughter? We haven't heard from them. All different things will cause one.
Wow. How would you explain the word grief? When we hear grief, we do denote it to crying, or we do denote it to losing a loved one. But you just opened up my eyes to so many things in which people grieve over. So how would you determine what the word grief means? Or is it different for everyone?
Different for everyone, depending on the situation, depending on what you're experiencing. You could experience grief because of, let's just say, losing your eyesight. You're accustomed to being able to see everything clearly, but then all of a sudden you decide you get in a space where your vision is starting to deteriorate. Think about individuals who are getting older, and the older we get, sometimes experience, lifestyle changes because we can't move the way we used to be able to move. We have to move out of a house that we've been accustomed to living in for 45 or 50 years, and now we're in a living space. So then you have relationships. Let's just say you have a mother and father, with children in a household, and those two wonderful people are just not wonderful together anymore. So that causes grief in the household because the children are accustomed to having both parents in the household. We don't know the reasons, but every reason that individuals get divorced are different, and every situation, is unique. And so I would have to answer the question by saying it depends on the situation.
Yeah. And you know what? That's what I mean, everyone deals with, I call it their own journey, right? And if you're out there, if you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on YouTube or Instagram, and if you have a question for Dr. Lockett, make sure you go and you put that question in there. I'm sure Dr. Lockett would love to answer any of your questions while she's here with us. But as we're talking about this topic of just grief and the different experiences, and she's explaining this to us, help me understand. Many people think only about, like you said, about death as grief. What are some other forms that you see? How can a person not grieve to the point of depression to where they don't know how to come out of it?
Again, everyone deals with grief a little bit differently. And two, when someone loses a loved one, it depends on the relationship, right? So if you have a situation where you have, let's just say, a young adult who no longer has a relationship with their parents for whatever reason, it just wasn't a good relationship for a long period of time, and so they stop talking, and then they transition. So it could have been that I've been depressed and hurt and grieving because of the relationship that I desired to have and wanted to have, but I don't have it. I never had it. But now I'm in a situation where I will never have it. I know a young lady who has experienced a situation where her father was incarcerated for a number of years for various reasons, kind of in and out of that space. And then finally he gets out and makes the decision that, you know what, I'm going to try to get my life together, but finds himself in that space again of being, in the streets. And then he's murdered. So the relationship that she desired to have, she didn't have because he was incarcerated. So that the relationship was squashed. And now she will never have it because he's no longer here amongst the living.
Mm. So, what are some of these symptoms when you're talking about grief? What are some of the symptoms for people to kind of watch out when it comes to grief? And how do we get them through that coping mechanism? Like, yeah, we're grieving, but what are the symptoms that we look out for? Because everyone does grieve differently. Like, is it a difference of avoidance? Do they
Yeah.
avoid situations and things like that? Or is it they're in their bedroom and they're locked away and they don't want to see the world? How, like those type of symptoms, how can someone know when their loved ones are grieving and they're going through something, and how can they help them?
When behaviors change. So you just said it. If you have a child that is no longer active or wants to be in a conversation and they're used to having a conversation, an open conversation, right?
Mhm.
But shutting everybody down, they don't want to talk.
Mhm.
They their sleeping habits could change. The eating habits change. They want to be isolated. They don't want to have a conversation with anyone. So those are kind of like little triggers that know that something's not quite right here.
Yeah.
Same thing, with adults. Sometimes we just don't want to be bothered. Just like, let me just be in my own space. I don't want to have a conversation with anybody. I don't even want to go to work. Some people don't even want to get out of bed. And so some people try to go into this space where they use substitute fillers, such as alcohol, taking,
Mm.
overeating, shopping, smoking, anything that will take them away from the situation that they're in. These are,
Mm.
and they're not going to help. And so what can we do in order to help individuals if we see someone in this particular space is that we can encourage them to get support. There are groups that they can get in, grief support groups depending on the situation. There are one-on-one sessions. For
Mm.
example, I am not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, but I am a grief recovery method specialist. And so I help people to deal with and work through various types of grief. And it takes work. It's not just a one-time fix. Grief is a journey.
Mm.
The path is going to be a little bit different. You could have, a mother that has 5 children, and all of the children love mom, but the relationships are different.
That's true. That
You
is so
know,
true.
one person who is always there for mom, and the other four have decided for whatever reason they no longer live, in that particular area where mom is living. But you have that one that's there for her to make sure that she's getting all the support that she needs if she's going through something. Let's just say it's a health issue, right? So that one person that's there, they're going to have a closer bond, most likely they're together. Not to take anything else away from the others, but
Yeah.
it's a relationship. I'm the one that goes to the doctor's appointments. I'm the one that takes mom to the bank. I'm the one her to maneuver through whatever this change is that she's experiencing.
I'm listening to you, and I am reminded, Dr. Lockett, when it comes down to grieving, because I believe I'm still in that process now. My dad passed away February the 11th. After he passed away, because every day for 56 days, I would go to the hospital or the nursing home where he was located, and I would be held up until, well, I say held up, but with him probably till about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, to where I'm spending my time with him. The moment he died, and after he died, after the funeral, I could not come straight home from work. And it wasn't until the third day I had went to like Costco's, and I stayed out, guess till how long? About 8 or 9 o'clock. And I was like, it was like the third day I said, why can't I just get in the car and go home from work? And then it was at that moment that it hit me. I was grieving a certain way, meaning I was used to being with my father those times. So then I would go out and stay out for shopping, or I would say, oh, I got this to do. And it was like I was walking in Costco's, and it dawned on me, you're missing your father and you're doing this as a filler. And then one of the things I did do, I reached out to my sisters because we're all grieving together, and I explained it to them. I'm voicing it versus keeping it in and not telling anyone. So, do you think that when people are going through grief, and I'm so happy that you're here because this is helping me, that how is it that they can understand it better? Like when they come to that moment, I mean, thank God for the person of the Holy Spirit, but it took me 3 days before I realized actually what I was doing. So, with that type of scenario, I mean, how do you think that a person like myself, even though I'm still overcoming, How long do you think that may last, or could it go on forever? I don't know. What do you think about that?
Take some time. You're still processing the fact that you've had your daddy for a number of years,
Yeah.
and he, in the physical, but he's going to always be with you in the spiritual. And so you were accustomed, like you said, 56 days you were doing something. So normally what they would say is if you do something consistently for 21 days, it becomes a habit.
Mm.
You have 21 days times 21 days. It was a habit over habit. And now you're not doing that anymore. So now you said you were taking in some consideration of shopping to have fillers, which I use the term supplement. You were trying to supplement your time.
Mm.
Accustomed to going home. But again, everyone's situation is different. It's going to take time to be able to process it. But as you're processing it, don't focus on how your father passed and those
Yeah.
very moments. Focus on how your father lived.
Mm. I
Then
love that.
he created a legacy.
Oh, yes, he did.
So focus on how you're going to keep your dad's name alive. One of the things that we often hear is an African proverb that says, as long as the blood is running through, and I continue to call out my son's name, his spirit will remain alive. So
Yeah.
the blood is running through your veins. So
Yeah.
call his name every single day. Keep his name alive.
Yeah.
And you're telling his story. What did your father represent? What did he like? What did he expose you to? What were the trips? What was the last words that you spoke? Was it a, I love
Mm.
you? About how he lived and how he poured into you and poured into the next generation? That's how your father was.
Yeah, you're right, Dr. Lockett. I think it's just one of those things in which grief just takes its own, it morphs into something. You say, I'm strong, I got this, I can do this, right? And then by the time it hit you, you like, wait a minute, hold up. You almost feel like someone just kind of what do you call it? Hit you from behind. That's how I kind of felt with this thing, even though I knew it was going to happen and it was inevitable. But I will say thank you for that. You're right. Keeping his name alive, making sure that we celebrate him and what he did instill into me. It's amazing. But we got some questions for you. Uh-huh.
We put too much pressure, too much expectations on that word strong. Why
Mm,
do you, why do you feel that you need to be strong? Why can't you process your grief?
I
It's so
don't know. I think that,
you can
Dr. Lockett, when I look at it, I think that we're at a point in life where I feel like I've been in the Energizer bunny. I've been going, going, going in life, and I've been there for everyone else. And in order for be there for everyone else, you have to be resilient. You have to be strong. But even like, for example, I'm encouraged every year with you and other moms at how you guys are keeping it going, and you guys are encouraging me. And so it's a beautiful thing, but I don't know why. I think that we get into this conundrum of be strong, like you said, not understanding it's moments where you could be weak and there are people there to assist and help you, right? I think that's what you're kind of trying to say, right?
just be in the moment. Just be. Allow others to pour into you. You pour into so many individuals. You have this podcast where you're pouring into mothers on a regular basis, in the huddle.
Yeah.
Mothers all the time, and they share with you their issues that they may be experiencing as a mother of an athlete, and you feel that you have to be present. You're the strong one in the family, you and your sister who's the minister. And so it's so to just pause and just say, I need a minute. when
Yeah.
when after my son was murdered, there was no way that I was going to be able to go back to work and be the chaplain, be the spiritual advisor, pour into other people. I had to pull back and I had to take a break.
Yeah.
I have to take a break, but there was still some things that I had to do to handle all of his business. Relocating, my son, other son, he was living there with him to a different location of living because he wanted to stay there and finish school. So there were a lot of different things that kept me busy, but at the same time, there were several times that I just had to pause and just let the tears flow.
Hmm.
Some nights I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. So I had to make sure that throughout the day, if I could just get just one little nap, if I could just get a little wink, wink here, I lost my appetite. I had to force myself to start back eating again. So all of these things, there was no way that I could go back into that workspace and be who God called me to be when I was not completely in a space of, I don't want to say use the word healed, because I won't. I won't use that word. I was on a healing journey. And when you're on a journey, it's you just learn how to deal with it, you know how to cope, you know how to learn how to navigate through the journey of processing everything that you're experiencing. So it's okay to not,
Yeah.
because the first thing people say, well, how you doing? I'm okay. Well, and you're not okay. Don't say you're okay. It's okay to not be okay. Matter of fact, Dr. Sabrina uh, Brown, Dr. Sabrina Brown just wrote a book entitled "It's Okay Not to Be."
Mm.
Goes into it. How do we support those individuals, who are grieving?
Yeah.
How do we pour in? And it's okay. Just a lot of times people think that they have to have the right words to say.
Mm.
It's okay not to say anything. The best present is just to say, I'm here.
Yeah.
Put your head on my shoulder and you want to cry, let's cry together.
Yeah.
If you decide and scream, let's scream together. If you just want to go for a walk, let's go on a walk together. We don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Or you can just, as a person who is a support person, say, if I were in Erica's shoes, what would I need? Maybe Erica just needs somebody to drive her around, to
Hello.
somebody to come over her house and clean up. Maybe Erica needs someone to go to the grocery store or just to do a DoorDash so she doesn't have to worry about cooking.
Yeah. You're
Or
right.
to send out those thank you cards that need to be sent out. So there's so many things that we can do without having the right words, but have actions in place for that person who's grieving.
That's rich. That's rich. My friend, husband, brother Chris always say, that's rich. You just gave some rich information. Very, very good. Okay. We're going to kind of turn it to another side because we are moms in a huddle, right? We're at moms of athletes, right? Jill puts a question in. It says, speak to the athletes grieving the loss of a sport they've played their whole lives and transition to the next stage due to injury, graduation, or life changes. How do you think that they're maybe able to process that? How can they cope? And then the second part of her question was, how should they cope and how can parents support them?
By encouraging them, not reinforcing that their whole life is centered around playing a sport.
Mm.
Because sometimes we put so much pressure, the expectation is that you're going to grow up and you're going to be a NFL or NBA player, and that's it. But there's other gifts that God gives our children. So
Yes.
back and just say, well, okay, what else am I good at? And I don't want to say have a B plan, but it is a B plan because sometimes it just happens when they're hurt, when they get cut from the team, or they transition into, a different position. And so they're competing. You have all these children who are in a position to play and they're very good. But unfortunately, all of them are not going to make it
That's
to
right.
NFL. And so that's a grieving journey right there. So the best thing we can do as mothers and fathers is to show our children that we love them regardless if they're playing any sports. I'm going to love you regardless. I'm going to love you unconditionally because I'm your mother. I'm your father. So
Yeah.
let's come up with a game plan. What else do you have a purpose, or what else drives you? What else are you driven to do? So there's a
Mm.
young, his name is Boomer. And I wish I could find his name. I'm gonna have to send it to you because I think he would be a good person to have on the show. But
Mhm.
played professionally overseas, I do believe. And so now he can no longer play because he hurt one of his ligaments in the body. But now what he does is he goes around and he talks about this very subject matter. What am
Mm.
I doing now? What are my next steps?
Yeah.
So conversations, and it's good, deep conversation. I remember when my youngest son was playing, we talked about this earlier. He was playing ball. He went to Faith Christian Academy. I think it was in the fourth grade. And people would come and watch him play, and he was good. And he has mind made up that he wanted to go to North Carolina, where Michael Jordan attended school. So that's all he talked about all his life, all his life. And then unfortunately, he went to a high school that didn't see his potential and
Mm.
allowing him to play because he was a little vertically challenged. And I will say that it was a predominantly all white school in the suburbs. And so now
Mm.
he's playing at practice, but he had very minimal play when it came play time at the games. Now,
Right. Right.
maybe understand it. It's understood this situation. It was on a winning streak, but this team was losing. By putting my son in, and I was get frustrated as a mother because
Yeah.
I knew what my child had, but he didn't get time. And I
Wow.
could see that was on his. I could see it when they were walking off at the end of the game, and they had to give some dap to the other team members. But I would just say, babe, you are regardless of whether you're playing or not. You're
Yes.
and you're called to be great in so many different things. And so he said, I've always wanted to be something centered around sports.
Hmm.
And so he had his mind made up. Maybe I'm going to do something in marketing. Maybe I'm going to, work within a huge organization like Nike or Adidas. So guess what he's doing now? He's working for Nike and doing very well.
Wow.
Sports arena, but not doing what he thought he was going to be doing. And I love having those conversations with him when he calls me, at the end of the day, and he tells me about certain scenarios or who he was interacting with, CEO of, and going to different basketball games and sports, arenas and meeting different people on all different levels. I remember he called me one day and said he had met I do believe it was the top person of marketing under the Michael Jordan brand.
Wow.
And so you just never know what God has in store for you. So the
Mm.
say is, love your children, encourage them, have those conversations, let them know that their lives don't stop because they're not playing. And I hope that mother's way.
Yeah. And so when we talk about even supporting the children, you gave so many great things. That's like speaking into their lives. One of the things I do think that we do as parents is as this child is growing up and they're excelling, they seem to be like the guy in their sports. Sometimes the parents and the kid that plays the sport can't see beyond the sport. Meaning, what else do you want to do? And I think part of the problem come in is because day in, day out, we're always talking about basketball or football or whatever, tennis, whatever sport they play, without really actually, we kind of almost do like the fans. We only see you for what we see you at, right? As the football player or the basketball player, failing to really realize, like you say, God put so much more in store for them and in their hearts that that's just a short segment of their life. But I think that as parents, and I'm so happy that you said that, we got to continue to speak into their lives. And that's one of the things I would say with Lil Samaj. He does tell us the other dreams that God has put on the inside of him, the other things that he may want to do outside of football, which is one of the biggest things, coming back to sit as the president of his foundation and continuing to give back to his community, which he knows is God's heartbeat. But we're going to move on a little bit more because I want to talk about you're director of spiritual care at the Detroit Medical Center. What does spiritual care look like in a hospital setting?
Mm. Well, being in that space, it basically means that we support patients, their families, and staff
Okay.
on a day-to-day basis. So it could be a situation where you have a person who's coming in through the emergency department, because of something abnormal that's going on in their bodies. And so they're coming in and they're grieving a little bit because of the unknown, right?
Hmm.
And then we have staff that may be dealing with their own issues, but expected come in and put on that wonderful face. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. Help you on your healing journey. But I've got my own issues. And so those individuals come in and set up an appointment and talk to me about whatever their issues may be. And then sometimes you have family members, who are very uh, disturbed by the diagnosis, let's say, of their loved one. So they're trying to figure out, so what are our next steps? I don't really understand this medical terminology. I need someone to speak to me in layman's terms. And so
Hmm.
we those situations, help those individuals maneuver through all of those various scenarios.
Yeah. I mean, and that has to be a lot because you're probably dealing with so many different people that believe many different things, but yet you got to make yourself available for the community. And so I'm thinking that that can be something, it can not be challenging because it sounds like you don't live a challenging life. It sounds like you live a life that you like, oh, we're going to get this done. Because every time I talk to you, you're so positive. It's the most amazing thing. What have you learned from sitting with families in their most vulnerable moments? Do you have an instance when you were sitting with a family and they were in a vulnerable moment in this hospital setting? What do you do? What do you say? How do you impart into them as the spiritual person that may be dealing with that they may be dealing with different things? But what do you say to this family?
Well, first of all, when I walk into a room, I'm not the traditional chaplain. If you look at the dictionary years ago, you would see an older, Caucasian man that looked like doom and gloom. And so back in the day, you would have this person showing up just saying, I just stopped by because you look like you was about to die, and I come by and say goodbye. But when I go into a room, I'll go in and I'll simply say, hi, I'm Chaplain Portia. I just stopped by to drop off a bucket full of blessings and an extra dose of God's love. Would you like some? So that could mean I'm coming in just to be a listener, just to listen to what it is. And it may not be spiritual that they want to talk about. They may want to talk about other situations they're experiencing at home. For example, it could be a mother who is coming in because she has to have an augmentation, or let's just say her breast removed, right? But she's trying on, if I have this surgery, who's going to take care of my children? Thinking about those babies, right?
Yeah.
They have an area where, we're giving a diagnosis and you're giving some alternatives in terms of how we're going to attack this situation. And so you have a lot of different people giving some input because everybody loves mom, everybody loves dad, everybody loves that person that's, the center of attention in that scenario. And so I often will tell people it's not about you. It's about, let's think about the best case scenario for our loved one. And we've been given some options. So, if it's okay, I want to pray with you. So the best possible decision is made, and we're going to thank God for the best possible outcome. And a lot of times the doctors will join in, the nurses will join in. And sometimes you have that end of life when the doctors have said there's absolutely nothing else we can do for your loved one.
Wow.
And so I do what we refer to as a circle of love. And I give everyone that's in that circle, it could be 10 people, it could be 15 people, where everyone goes around the circle and says, for example, Mom, thank you so much for being the wonderful. Thank you, Mother, for instilling the values. Mom, I'm going to keep up the tradition of keeping that family event going where we got together every Friday night and did soul food. Mom, I'm going to keep up the tradition that you instilled in me of making sure that, we go to church on, Sunday. So you have everybody in this circle going around saying that what they value, what they're going to miss, what they're going to hold close and dear to their heart. And then we'll do what I refer to as the circle of forgiveness, because sometimes that person who's transitioning was not that good. And so I forgive you for not being present. I forgive you for not being the person that I needed you to be. I forgive you for abusing me, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. I forgive. So it's not about that person at that time, even though it is, but it's also about those individuals freeing themselves up. So when that time comes for that person who's in the center to transition, you will know that you said, I forgive you. I free you up. And sometimes it even comes down, and I even love you. And I've seen tears, drip down the face of that person who's laying in the bed, because sometimes they're quote unquote in a comatose state. But when that tear comes down, you know that person can hear. They often say hearing is the last thing to go.
Wow.
So every situation, is, and sometimes, people will just come to me and they just fall into my, and I'll just hold them. Words are spoken, but the message is sent. I got you.
Well, Dr. Portia, years ago, I think several years back from what I can remember, you did, I want to say maybe a conference or an event. and I believe it was called Permission to Grieve. If I'm not mistaken, tell us about that event. And are you still holding that as an annual event for people to attend?
Yes, we have evolved and we call it Permission to Day. And so we use separate episodes or separate days, Permission to Grieve, where we would have individuals giving their stories, about their grieving journey. Then we have Permission to Heal, where we have mental health experts and counselors and therapists coming in and giving us good sound advice about how to maneuver through whatever that grief experience is. And then we have Permission to Live and Laugh, where we bring in comedians. Permission to love again, because sometimes when you're experiencing life, you stop loving yourself
Mm.
because that person is no longer with me. I can't love anybody else again. No one else is going to love me the way that person loved me. But opening yourself up to love yourself and be open to love and be loved again. And add mission to move forward and plan ahead, where we'll have someone such as New York Life come in and talk about the different types of life insurance that you have. We'll
Oh.
like a Pamela Mackey, she will come in and talk about your estates and will planning.
Mm.
I mean, and talking about, what to expect when you go into, the hospital and then you're hospitalized. Who is going to be your patient, your advocate for it, your medical advocate? Do you have those documents in place if something were to turn south? And then we talk about planning your own funeral. What do you want it to look like? What do you want your celebration of life to look like? Do you want an open casket? Do you want a closed casket? Do you want a casket at all? Do you want to be cremated? And then we talk about, going back to school and finish what you started. How do we move forward? And then lastly, in the midst of all this grief, how do we? So we entitle it Permission Today. It's approximately grieving. We have vendors, we feed you breakfast and lunch, and we just pour. We have different activities for those individuals. Everybody walks away completely full. And the one this year is going to take place Saturday, May 30th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can go on Eventbrite right now. You can go to the Azelle Benet Lockett Foundation.org to our website and see, get all the information, not only about Permission Today, but all the amazing things that we have done under the umbrella of the Azelle Benet. So if I could interject here, with the
Yeah.
foundation, we provide therapy. So if someone reaches out to us and say, I'm in this space where I need support, I need help, I'm hurting, I'm grieving. So depending on what that situation is, we will partner them up with the right therapist. If they don't have insurance, then the foundation will underwrite the cost of approximately 8 sessions for that person. If
Wow.
someone with a chronic illness and they can't pay their bills, they're not working, then the foundation will donate up to $500 to be able to help that individual. Or if someone transitions, they don't have a life insurance policy and the family needs support, and they don't have a life insurance policy, they will donate up to $500 to be able to help that family.
Wow. That is amazing. Dr. Lockett, the Azelle Benet Lockett Foundation does a lot. I do have his foundation information on the screen. It's www.azellebenetLockettFoundation.org. And when I say you guys are doing so much to minister to the community, like that's beautiful because a lot of people do pass without life insurance. A lot of people, and you see a lot of what? GoFundMe's. But if you set these things up prior to, if you're able to, I know everyone's not, then it can be like an easy road to kind of just plan out everything. So that's wonderful. Well, I will say, as it relates to you've been recognized with awards like the Spirit of Detroit Award and the Michigan Chronicles Women of Excellence. What do these honors mean to you personally?
It's wonderful when you're recognized for the work that you do and calling that's on your life. But for me, the greatest reward is when we have a family that says thank you. We would
Mm.
to give our loved one the homegoing that we gave them without the support of the foundation. Or someone calls us and says, I just finished my therapy. I'm so glad that we were able to come. Or we were able to help someone that had a chronic illness. And people come back to us and tell us all the time, you know, or they come to one of our events and we do an evaluation at the end. We get all the feedback. See, that's the greatest reward. Knowing
Yes.
impact and we influence someone else's life that was in that grieving space. That's the greatest reward for me right now.
And like I say, every year, Dr. Portia, that I see you and all those other moms, y'all, I leave full. I come there and I show up, and I'm program oriented. I got to get this done, this done, this done. Let's get this for the moms. But when I'm there, I leave full. Just to mention your son's name, Azel Benet. I'm gonna say it again, Azel Benet, because I know that's power, and just remembering his name as we say their names every year. It's like, I love that we are coming together to celebrate them. It's not that they're gone, they're just not here.
Mhm.
And so I think that life and death, I still struggle with it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like the separation of family members. I hate it. But one day, as my friend husband again would say, death gonna get dealt with. They do like ministry to help different people. And then he talked about how death is going to get dealt with. Death, grief is one of the reasons we deal with certain things. The death of a relationship, the death of a career, the death of a loved one. And just sitting here talking with you, I feel better because I have been grieving. And sometimes I acknowledge it. I'm not ashamed to acknowledge it. I'm not ashamed to say, Erica, you're not doing well today. You may just want to lay in the bed. You may not want to do anything. And one of the things I can say is I don't have the type of family that just say, well, it's time for you to move on. I think that is so mentally disconnecting from someone that's grieving. Thank God for a family that. So talk about that. Talk about that side of it, because everything isn't the thing of, oh, you're grieving and everyone's supporting you. Talk about that side, Portia, because that side can be real for a lot of families. There are some people that say, move on. That person has been gone for how many years? You still talking about? Talk about that part of it when it comes to the perspective of the person saying it and then the person that hears it.
So the person that hears it, it's a complete turnoff. And so that person may just shut that other person out, period, because they don't want to hear it. They don't understand. And the person that's saying it has probably 99% has not experienced a loss themselves. Because until you are in that space of grief, of losing someone that you deeply love, you would not say it. You would not say, you better get over this.
Mm.
You need to move on. Those are words that should not come out of anybody's mouth, period. Answer is, how can I help you to move forward? And moving forward simply be, today is a good day to handle all of the finances. Let's go to the bank and see if there's anything that needs to be handled bank-wise. Are there any accounts that need to be? Are there any credit cards that need to be closed? That's one. How about if we move forward and do something to honor that loved one? What about if we move forward and plant a tree that we can see grow?
Yeah.
Right? What about today is a good day to bring all the family members together and just celebrate and have a karaoke party and only play the music that that loved one enjoyed, and we just all eat the favorite foods. We're going to cry together. We're going to laugh together. And we're probably going to experience some emotions that may flare up, but it's okay. We are moving forward. Taking time out to even write that person a letter.
Yeah.
Dear son, whoever that is, I write my son letters all the time. And I write him daughter that he unfortunately was never able to meet in the physical. So right, doing things that will honor that individual as we move forward. Today is a good day just to write down every memory that you can remember and saying thank you for that moment. Thank all those moments of gratitude. Turn that space into a space of gratitude as opposed to having an attitude that that's no longer here.
Yeah. Yeah. I could say that
Grateful that I had the mother I had. I'm grateful that I had the husband. I'm grateful that I had that wonderful big mom. I'm grateful that I had that best friend.
Mm,
and
yeah.
focus on how they lived. I'll go back to that again. Focus on how they lived and the experiences that you experienced together. Nobody else experienced. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
they're taken to the grave that they never told anybody and laugh about it.
Yeah. I could say long ago, when I grieved the first time of a parent, I found myself disappointed with God, right? With my mom. I'm like, Lord, she loved you. She was a believer. She loved you with all her heart. We loved you. We loved her. And she was taken. She died at age 57. And I was just trying to understand, like, God, yeah, I was really disappointed. And I think sometimes people don't express that part of it. Disappointment is, I don't know why I was disappointed, but I've since then apologized to the Lord. There's no way I could be disappointed with a good God because he's still good, even though my mom is not here. He's still good, even though my dad is not here, right? But I was disappointed. And I think that writing things down, like you say, and being real with God about things and people, it helps you move through. And I think that's where it's like a healthy process of grieving. Would you say, like when you acknowledge the emotions you're having versus putting it to the back to say, oh, I'm not having that. I'm okay. I'm not angry, but expressing it and talking about it, right?
God already knows.
Yeah.
He already knows. And so if you just say, God, why my mother? My mother was 57 years old, and you have another mother over here that wasn't taking care of her children. She spent all her money on whatever, whatever, whatever. My father came home every single day from work, took care of his family, paid off her house, treated my mother like a queen. And at the age of 70, he's gone. But then you have all these other fathers that, were just out there in the street, doing drugs and alcoholics and abusing their children. And so it's okay for you to say, why my dad? Why my mom?
Yeah.
Answer that you want, but God, I do believe, understands. And you have every right to be angry. It's okay. God understands. But at some point, you're going to get to the point where you can just say, okay, okay.
Yeah. And you can kind of deal with it. I think people talk about, I believe, I want to say, I don't know exactly where it is in the Bible, when the children of Israel was grieving, I believe, over the death of Moses. And they kind of, after 30 days, he did say, now listen, you guys are got to go. Joshua and everybody else ready to go to the promised land. You're grieving Moses. I'm going to give you this 30 days, and God allows it. Because I think that grief can turn into bitterness, frustration, disappointment,
Depression.
depression. Yes. And it takes us mentally down a path that if we continue down it, someone else will be grieving us, right? Because of the heavy hearts of grief. And it'll break your heart. It grief. Talk about that, Dr. Lockett. I know you're not a medical doctor, but talk about the effects that the prolonged process of grieving can have on a body, and how someone can kind of maneuver their way out of that. Because there's somebody out there that's probably grieving and been grieving for a long time, and they're seeing effects in their body. What do you say about that?
Well, I experienced that myself. As I said,
Hmm.
I didn't want to eat. My doctor basically said, so my normal weight is like 125. When my
Hmm.
son down to like 111 pounds because I had no desire to eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was just functioning. I was just kind of like in operation mode. And so I knew that if I didn't start back eating, then something eventually was going to happen. If you're
Hmm.
not in the temple, everything will eventually shut down. And you often hear people saying they will themselves away. I'll give you a great example. I had a loved one in my family who transitioned suddenly, unexpectedly. And the mother basically willed herself away. She got sick. She never got over it.
Hmm.
Never even forgave herself because it was one of those things where you got 24 hours to get somewhere, and you were
Yeah.
not get somewhere where you needed to be there to hold your child. And so now you're like, if I had only got there, you start playing all these guilt trips. Basically, she willed herself away. And you often hear about situations like this with older adults who have been married, older couples say, who've been married for 60, 70 years, because I can't tell them throw themselves away. Well, we don't want to put ourselves in that situation. We want to take care of our temple. So it's very important for us grievers practice self start mental space. Go to that grief support group. Talk to that therapist. Get it all out. So whatever it is that you're feeling, so that you can have someone that's professional to be able to guide you on this. Make sure that you're taking time out to eat, drink plenty of water. Because typically when you're hot, you're releasing a lot of fluid. Plenty of water, eating fruits, even if it's just little snacks throughout the day. Take care of that temple. Pull back into temple. And as I said before, take time out and meditate and pray. And to be know what's going on. I don't know how. And I often tell people, I didn't know about it, but I was crying so much.
Oh, I think your audio's going out a little.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yep. There you go.
Yeah. So I said, taste the tears. Because those tears that were once very, very bitter, now when I cry and I'm thinking about my son or I'm thinking about my mother, they for me, they turn a little sweet because I'm focusing on their moment. Over here. I would not start at the for them hope and hold their hearts. If I was still probably one, a month for the meeting. If I were still here, probably would not be.
Yeah.
If still here, I would not have free a hard day allows individuals help on their healing journey after the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
So I think about all the different things that have manifested after the loss and how I've been able to take purpose and for what I'm doing in order to help people maneuver through their grieving journey. I chose intentionally peace over my pain.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. You've helped me throughout this time. I mean, I told Portia when she came on, I said, Portia, it's probably gonna be about 35, 40 minutes. I said, but I know between me and you, I talk, you talk, and I know it's gonna go a little longer. So you've helped me as a therapy session. It's just happened in front of everybody, and I'm okay with that. Okay. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm okay with that. This is so good. It's so good. It's like my spirit man was eating. But before you go, Portia, you have an anointing on your life to speak into others' life. I don't know if you remember, but there was a moment when we were there to bless you, but you blessed my son with a word from God. And I just want to share that and bring this to the stage to where I just want to know if you remember. And I want to personally thank you for sowing into my son. Give me one moment. Let me get that video together and let's bring it to the stage. Give me a moment.
Everything that you have set your mind to do is manifesting as we speak. 2000 will draft, and we're gonna be like, yep, that was the young man who blessed me with a gift from his foundation. And we're like, thank you, God. So right now we declare and decree that everything that you have set your mind to do is manifesting as we speak. I ask God to continue to keep covering over you from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, and that all your muscles and ligaments and tissues and organs, your red cells, your white cells, the bone marrows, the joints, and the atoms of your body will all function in perfection. That your eyes will stay 2020, so you have to see specifically what God has for you to see. That we speak life into it. Everything that comes out of your mouth speaks life. Everything that you have to do with your hands, you're able to do it with excellence. That God will plant your feet exactly where it's supposed to be planted at. Wherever you are, favor is chasing you down.
Hallelujah.
Amen. It's good. This is your time. This is your season, baby. And your parents are your number one cheerleaders. They're your best friends. So whatever mom and dad says, that's it. Because they're only coming from the word. You got Miss Portia, who's going to be praying for you. It's going to be keeping you covered. It's going to be calling out your name. And thanking God in advance for what He's going to do. Just some cheerleaders sitting on the side. I'm like, yep. Starbucks.
Portia, do you remember that?
Yes, yes.
You poured into and my baby at that time, he was really learning the things of God. And he like, man, Ma, that was really nice. When we left, he just thought what you spoke to him was really nice. And a lot of people don't know that was in 2023. That was the year that Samaj had one of his greatest years in playing college football. He became a national champion. He also became the rookie of the year. He was the one of the he was rookie of the year, academics of the year. So Portia spoke into my son's life, even though her son is not one of her children. Her sons is not here. She wasn't broken, so broken that she couldn't speak into someone else's life. And like I said, that was one of the most successful years that Samaj had. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Portia. You are a true gem. You are a gem. And I can't wait to celebrate with the moms and the dads this year when we bring you guys back together. But you have poured into us. We want you to definitely come back to Moms in a Huddle, because in the huddle, everyone, no parent stands alone. So Dr. Lockett is showing that even in people in the regular world or outside of sports don't stand alone, but she's also in sports with us. She understands what it means. So Portia, I just want to thank you for coming. And I have one last question before you leave. I ask just about every guest the same question. And what it is, your journey in one word.
Wow, my journey in one word. God led.
Hey, we make it one because God is one all in himself, right? God led, and you are. I love it. Why did you choose those words as your journey?
Because I'm only here because I'm being led by God every day. I don't move. I can't groove without God. If he say move forward, I move forward. If he says be still and be quiet, I'm still and I'm quiet. I can't do anything without God. I'm nothing without God.
Ooh.
I'm creating every day. I try to perfect a day to be more Christ-like, to be more God-like. And I thank God every day for using me to allow me to be a walking, willing, obedient vessel.
Yeah.
Daily assignment, and every day is a different assignment. So I'm God led.
Well, thank you for being God led, Dr. Portia. We thank you for you, and we thank you for your testimony. We thank you for pouring into the community. We're going to have you come back. But before you leave, can you let our subscribers know that you were in the huddle with the mom? Say, I'm in the huddle.
I'm in the huddle with the moms.
Hey, have a good one, Portia. Love you. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you later. Wow. What a show. When you talk about bringing different guests on, every week that me and Jill come on here at Moms in a Huddle, we are pouring out our lives. We are pouring out different things. But when the people come that are guests, they are pouring into us. This has been a tremendous show. I thank Dr. Portia Lockett for ministering to me, because that's what it is. She has a ministry to minister to people that are going through griefs at any stage. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what we learned and what she gave to us today, some different pointers. So if you're in the huddle tonight, if you are in anything, if you're grieving sports, if you're grieving anything that has happened in your life, if your athlete is grieving, make sure you check in with them. Make sure you assist them with it. Don't leave them in the huddle of grief alone. Help them get through it on their journey. Until we meet again, everyone, we thank you. And Mary Gary Davis, thank you so much. Amen. Dr. Portia, thank you, ladies. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for joining in. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as it relates to when we drop different episodes, because we are here. Go to our Facebook, our Instagram, go to our YouTube. We need more subscribers. If you know someone that is out here and they are parents in the huddle and whatever subject that they, think that they're thinking about, I bet you we've covered it. And if we haven't covered it just yet, we're going to cover it. But make sure that they subscribe to our channel, because we want to grow that. We want to make sure that the algorithm pick up our videos to get out there to many, 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 many different people that may need to hear what we're talking about. So until next time, everyone, you guys have a blessed rest of your day. And remember, in the huddle, no parent stands alone. Have a good one.